Hello and welcome to La Rosa Reads. I'm Denise La Rosa, and today I'm going to do something that I haven't done for quite a while, and that is a book haul. Let's talk books. Behind me I have books, and more books. I must tell you guys, I really did have the intention of not shopping for a bunch of new books. I may be failing at that, and I'm just trying to ride the wave, give myself grace for the journey, and share all these books that I've accumulated with you. I have the books behind me and some over to my left, your right, in order by where I purchased the books. So let's start with the books that I grabbed from Uncle Bobby's in Philly, Pennsylvania. I was in Philadelphia for a work trip back in April, and of course I had to visit the famous Uncle Bobby's. This is a bookstore that has been on my bucket list for visiting, and I have to tell you guys, it delivered. The vibes were everything, and I grabbed 3 books as well. I am really working hard on reading every single play from August Wilson's Century Cycle, and to help me do that was this purchase from Uncle Bobby's titled Two Trains Running by August Wilson. I'm not familiar with this particular play of his, so let's find out what's going on. It is Pittsburgh, 1969, and the regulars of Memphis Lee's restaurant are struggling to cope with the turbulence of a world that is changing rapidly around them and fighting back when they can. The diner is scheduled to be torn down, a casualty of the city's renovation project that is sweeping away the buildings of a community, but not its spirit. For just as sure as an inexorable future looms right around the corner, these people of loud voices and big hearts continue to search, to falter, to persevere, to hope. With compassion, humor, and a superb sense of place and time, Wilson paints a vivid portrait of everyday lives in the shadow of great events and of unsung men and women who are anything but ordinary. 1 down, 2 more to go from Uncle Bobby's, and the next book I purchased is Officer Clemmons. If you are a lover of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you know who Officer Clemmons is. And this cover just shows us one of the most touching moments in television history. Officer Clemmons identifies as gay and black, and to be a black queer man in the 1970s and 80s and on this children's show was like, I can only imagine how his life unfolded during that time and how he had to navigate his identity in real life with his identity on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And what did Mr. Rogers think of all this? I am so curious, and we'll find out in Officer Clemmons. The next book is written in verse, and I have become a huge lover of books written in verse. This is African Town, inspired by the true story of the last American slave ship. I know I'm going to be so deeply moved by this book, and I'm looking forward to reading it, and will definitely have to emotionally, mentally prepare for this journey. So the next 3 books are books that I purchased while we were on vacation in Washington, D.C. I didn't go to a bookstore to acquire these books. Instead, I visited the National Museum of African American History and Culture. This book was originally published in 1981, my birth year, and I cannot wait to read this book. It is written by Angela Davis, and it is titled Women, Race, Class. This book is one of the first books on my TBR on Goodreads from the first time I, uploaded the app. And I don't know why it's taken me so long to acquire the book and even longer to read it, but I've got it in my hands now. I love how the New York Times Book Review describes this book. It's a historical study of how the 3 themes of the title became entangled in the growth of American society, given resonance by Miss Davis's insights into current women's concerns. And current being 1981, I can imagine there's going to be timeless insight by Angela Davis. I am so excited to read this book. So your girl may be taking forever to read Invisible Man, but that didn't stop me, y'all, from purchasing another book by Ralph Ellison, and this one is titled Juneteenth. We visited the museum on Juneteenth, so I was like, hey, I've got to get this book, y'all. Like, it's a moment. It is a moment. Obviously, the title has to do with Juneteenth. I don't really know much else, and I think it should remain a mystery until I dive in. It's one of those books that I don't even want to read the synopsis. I just want to be immersed in the story and let it tell me all it needs to tell me. The last book that I purchased at the museum is this one. It is titled A Black Women's History of the United States with a Revised Afterword. I have also had this book on my to-read list in Goodreads for many, many years, I think. Wait a minute, let's see when this baby was published. I feel like I've had it on my TBR forever. 2020. Well, we all know that 2020 aged us a bit and feels like forever and a day ago. So I digress. I've had it on my TBR since 2020, which is coming on 3 years, so over 3 years. Whatevs. The point is, I want to read this book because I think identifying as a Black woman, it's a book that is an important read for me, one that will resonate with me, and I just feel like I'm seeing just by the title alone. So, looking forward to it. I love visiting my hometown in the state of West Virginia. I also love visiting a New Chapter bookstore in Lewisburg, West Virginia. And we also have this quaint, delightful, historic store in my hometown of Alderson, West Virginia called Alderson Store. Alderson Store is a place that I used to frequent when I was a little girl with my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. And it's just something that is a staple in my hometown and a place that I was super excited to revisit whenever I was home this summer. And Sarah Alderson, Miss Sarah Alderson, is now the store owner. It's been passed down throughout the generations of her family, and she's doing a magnificent job with this store. And I love how all of the books there are connected to West Virginia, whether it's by an author who's a West Virginian or about the state itself. Katherine Johnson lived just 25 to 30 minutes away from my hometown in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. So I knew when I went to Alderson Store that I was going to pick up a book about Katherine Johnson, and it is titled Reaching for the Moon, the autobiography of NASA mathematician Katherine Johnson. And I love that this is the young adult version. Sometimes I just love reading the younger version because it's more digestible, and I just love seeing things through younger generations' eyes. So, of course, we have, the movie that came out. Hidden Figures came out, I believe, in like 2016. But for me, I always knew Katherine Johnson, and I'm so thankful that in the schools where I grew up, she was not a hidden figure. We celebrated her, we were so proud of her, and continue to be. So, can't wait to dive in. Lordy B, then I had a party for the 2 visits I made in West Virginia. I picked up Southernmost by Silas House. I have talked about this book in previous videos, so if you want to know, dive into my archives and find out that way. I just realized Southernmost is on my September TBR video, so check it out. And in addition to Southernmost, I have this book on my September TBR and on the video titled The Time Has Come. So watch that video to learn more. I had never heard of this book, but the title and most importantly, the cover lured me, had me swooning and feeling all the feelings because your girl was a former or is a former dancer. This book is titled Nocturne. I love this cover. Let's take a moment, take it in. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous and alluring, and it had me curious, like, what is this book about? Growing up in Chicago's Little Sicily in the years following the Great War, Grace has always wanted to be a ballerina ever since she first peered into the windows of the Near North Ballet Company. So when Grace is orphaned, she chooses the ballet as her home, imagining herself forever in a transcendent world of light and beauty so different from her poor immigrant upbringing. Years later, the Great Depression in full swing, Grace has become the company's new prima ballerina. Though achieving her long-held dream is not the triumph she once envisioned. Time and familiarity have tarnished that shining vision, and her new position means the loss of her best friend in the world. Then she attracts the attention of the enigmatic Master La Rosa, as her personal patron, and realizes the world is not as small or constricted as she had once come to know and fear. Who is her mysterious patron, and what does he want from her? As Grace begins to unlock the master's secrets, she discovers that there is beauty in darkness as well as light, finds that true friendship cannot be broken by time or distance, and realizes there may be another way entirely to achieve the transcendence she has always sought. La Rosa Ballerina. It is all about me. Yay, yay, yay. Even though it's not about me, I feel like it is about me. Can't wait. Okay, the last 2 books that I purchased in West Virginia over the summer are books that I've already read, and so they're in my July and August wrap-ups. The first one being Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and the next one being My Magnolia Summer, written by Victoria Benton Frank. Check these books out in my July and August wrap-ups. I did something that I have never done before, and a familiar someone inspired me to do it. Olive from a book Olive loves her some library book sales, and there was one at my local library. I sent her a quick text and was like, girl, this sounds like a meetup for us. Let's do it. And I was able to purchase some books for super duper cheap. Am I now converted to being a library book sale person? I don't know. It was a little crowded, a little overwhelming, but we shall see. We shall see. So, in this bag, I have some books. Not as many as I probably should have purchased because you pay $12 and could fill your bag up to the brim. This didn't quite do that, but quite frankly, I got overwhelmed and anxious and claustrophobic, so I had held it out of there. So, here's what we have. My maternal grandmother's name is Hattie, and I just love that name, and I've always wanted to read this book. It's also an Oprah's Book Club selection from quite a few years ago. It is titled The 12 Tribes of Hattie. I don't know what the heck this book is about. All I know is 2 things. It's got my mama's name on it in the title, and it's an Oprah's Book Club selection. So, let's do this. Okay, it's 1923. And 15-year-old Hattie flees Georgia and settles in Philadelphia, hoping for a chance at a better life. Instead, she marries a man who will bring her nothing but disappointment and watches helplessly as her firstborn twins succumb to an illness a few pennies could have prevented. Hattie gives birth to 9 more children. Well, dang. She wasn't too distraught. Whom she raises with grit and mettle, and not an ounce of tenderness they crave. She vows to prepare them for the calamitous difficulty they are sure to face in their later lives, to meet a world that will not love them, a world that will not be kind. Well, this is sad. Captured here in 12 luminous narrative threads, their lives tell the story of a mother's monumental courage and the journey of a nation. Oh, an interesting way to give us a historical context through the perspectives of these children. Okay, Oprah picked some sappy, sad books, but, we'll see how it goes. Okay, this is a book that I've had on my TBR. I've seen. I haven't felt really pushed to purchase it or even check it out of the library, but it was at the sale, so why not? We have In Every Mirror, She's Black. Yeah, I wasn't sure what this book was about, but it sounds like we've got a successful marketing executive, Kimmy, and is lured from the U.S. to Sweden and ends up being at this largest marketing firm there to help fix a PR fiasco involving a racially tone-deaf campaign. Of course, they always get us to fix somebody else's mess. A killer at work, but a failure in love, Kimmy's move is a last-ditch effort to reclaim her social life. All right, so it's told through the perspectives of each of the 3 women. So I guess Kimmy's meeting Johnny, she's meeting Brittany Ray, and refugee Muna Saeed. So we've got 3 different women's perspectives. If you count the main character, it's 4. So I don't know. We shall see what happens. I'm excited to read it. 2 more books. All right. So the next book is one that I saw and I was like, what the what? She wrote what? With who? So I never was going to buy it, but it was so cheap at this library book sale, so why not? We have Hillary Rodham Clinton, Louise Penny writing State of Terror. Woo! Sounds terrifying. Sounds like maybe an October read. I don't know. Here are the women themselves on the back. I am so curious. We've got, like, I'm really into books about politics and, like, government life because it's an intense lens and makes for good stories. After a tumultuous period in American politics, a new administration has just been sworn in, and to everyone's surprise, the President of the United States chooses a political enemy for the vital position of Secretary of State. Okay. There is no love lost between the President and Ellen Adams, his new Secretary of State. Autobiographical, I wonder? Were she and Barack at odds? I don't know. But it's a canny move on the part of the president. With his appointment, he has control over one of his harshest critics. I'm done. I'm not reading anymore. Okay, Hillary, we see you. We read you. I will read this at some point. Right now, I'm just plain old curious, so I might be reading it sooner rather than later. So I may be donning my Prince shirt back by popular demand. You guys love this shirt, but make no mistake about it. I love Prince, but I love, did I say love Michael Jackson. So at this library book sale, interestingly enough, your girl Olive knows me as well, and she found this book and came over and put it in my hands, and I was like, yes, baby. And we have Michael Jackson, the magic, the madness, the whole story. How salacious. So I've heard about this book, this biographer. There's no love lost between him and the Jackson family. I believe one of the things that I can imagine is frustrating for them, and I've heard the Jackson family speak about this in interviews, is that people are talking about someone that they've never met, that they don't truly know, but is their relative. Michael, let's not forget, these celebrities such as Michael Jackson are brothers, they're sons, they're fathers, their cousins, their uncles, they're human beings. And so I can imagine it's very bizarre and challenging and difficult to read biographies. However, this particular author, I remember seeing him in a lot of interviews talking about Michael's life. You know, a lot of people, I want to say, mad respect to these folks who really research and study these people and try to do right by them by telling the truth. But how much do they really know? I mean, come on. They don't really know the people. So I'll take this with a grain of salt. But my, oh my, I feel like I know everything about Michael Jackson. Like, my brain has such a big, large space of Michael Jackson trivia, like facts and stuff, that I'm like, why do I know this about him? So I don't think I'm going to have any surprises. However, it won't hurt to read it so that I can argue either for or against some of these things that the biographer has written, or just take it with a grain of salt, or just be like, I don't know. I didn't know the dude. So we shall see. And there's pictures. I mean, look, little Mike, what was your favorite Michael Jackson era? I'd be really curious if you'd let me know in the comments. I feel like he was a man with like 9 lives and just lived such a big life in such a short amount of time. Just 49 years he was on this earth, which is hard to believe. Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was really young. So thank you, Olive. Thank you, Library Book Sale, for this book. Okay, I'm done. My mom takes issues with the purchases that I make when it comes to books, but I'm here to say, Mom, look, I got a lot of deals. I got a lot of gifts. I got a lot of discounts. You know, just let me live my life, boo. Just let me live my life. What books have you picked up? Let me know by hopping into those comments and sharing them with me. You just may see them on La Rosa Reads. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.